is really marked by three shifts. Big tech is doing more and more to take control and lock down the data that companies, businesses need in order to deliver hyper-personalization, privacy-first experiences. And the businesses who can embrace this move and this shift will win in this new moment. And the moment isn't just defined by Apple and Google as well. There's a shift right now in terms of what they're doing within their ecosystems, their app ecosystems, and their AI platforms that are building, which are actually restricting the data that companies were used to having to power their personalization and engagement methodologies. Such data, like this data to personalize experiences, the data that was used to power, for example, understanding customers' location and whereabouts, this is all becoming now highly restrictive. And so companies that used to rely on this data to personalize and understand their customers better are now struggling to achieve this. It's as if they're holding the whole picture of the customer and the understanding, and only allowing certain companies to have certain pieces of that puzzle. And Google and Apple aren't the only factors defining this moment. This whole model of owning the customer is being disrupted right now. 70% of consumers are switching brands due to either economic struggles or the lack of relevancy. And the only sustainable path back to profitability that we're seeing in the research is through hyper-personalization. However, personalization has traditionally been driven by AI models and logic and analytics that happen in the cloud. And the challenge there, as things are shifting and these signals are now getting harder and harder to come by, the cloud is no longer able to you're not able to bring that very rich predictive data into the cloud to develop these deep understanding. And this is where we see Edge AI playing a really transformational and revolutionary role. So what is Edge AI? I think it's a technology that's essentially flipping the whole idea of AI on its head. Whereas cloud AI, again, optimized for large predictive models and deep analytic projects, Edge AI is instead of trying to follow the data, it's bringing the AI to the data. And in this case, bringing the AI on device. And this has a couple really game-changing characteristics. First of all, by moving the AI to the device, you can start to unlock thousands of behavioral signals and intent patterns that just aren't available in the cloud. Second, in its primary mode of operation, no data ever leaves the device. All of the signals and the intelligences used to create these predictions happen on device and do not require any use of PII. And in the second mode of operation, but the third point is that all this net new data that is now available on device can be fed back into the cloud and given to your data science teams to improve their predictive models. So you can see that really the future of enterprise AI is kind of a harmonious balance of cloud AI, which is ideal for large-scale predictive modeling, and combined with Edge AI, which is optimized for real-time privacy-first personalization. And the reality is Google and Apple are already using combined Edge and cloud AI. So why isn't your company? One of the things that we believe is probably the marketing challenge of our times is solving what we call the personalization paradox. Let's face it, customers still want brands to deeply understand them, anticipate their needs, serve them in real time. However, they don't want to be tracked. If they want to provide their data, they want to do it on their own terms. So how do you balance? Companies are really challenged with trying to balance this need for deep hyper-personalization and protecting consumer privacy and building trust. The challenge is in the conventional cloud AI approach, the PII and sensitive data needs to be collected into the cloud in order to train those models and define campaign logic that's used to be able to engage customers. In the new kind of edge AI approach, the intelligence is shifted to the device. So now there's only generic information needs to be retained in the cloud, and the device can anonymously and based on the triggers that run on device, pull this information when needed and be able to execute and predict and drive personalization and engagement on device. And again, as I mentioned, in the primary mode of operation, no PII or any data needs to leave the device. So what will it look like to win in this AI moment? It's interesting. The answer really isn't industry specific. Whether you're in retail, financial services, or communications and media, the answer is the same. It's really how do you engage your customers in real time with relevant contextual information, and to do so in a way that drives measurable business outcomes. So let's take a look at 3 of these examples. In this first one here, you can see that personalization isn't just a theory. There is quantitative impact. In this example, it's retail customer, by shifting from generic to interest-based imagery and messaging, saw a huge boost in their open rates. 34% increase in the open rates of their communications, 68% increase in the click-throughs, and 8% increase in conversions. This case study is from a customer of ours called eVest, one of the fastest growing online trading platforms in the Middle East. They discovered that when they first launched their service, their customers would download their app, but then would either not engage or engage very little. And this is actually quite a common trend we see with financial services apps specifically. So they used Edge AI to detect these non-registered or dormant users, and then based on the logic, would send them nudges and help prompt their engagement. With eVest using Edge AI, they were able to increase their monthly active users by 46%, drive campaign engagement rates up by 84%, and increase their first-time deposits, which is a key metric for the online trading platforms, by over 27%. This was really, really impactful for their business, and we are continuing to now find new ways and new use cases for helping them. In fact, if you come visit us at our table, we've published quite an extensive case study on this customer. And then finally, this is an example in connectivity and media, where you can really see the power of Edge AI and Cloud AI working together, where Edge AI is surfacing these real-time contextual insights, feeding it back into the cloud that can, take that and power things like recommender models, and then use marketing automation and orchestration to essentially automate and deliver these messages across multiple channels. So in this case, you can see things like being able to recognize certain language and then personalize the offer in that language, to combine imagery and tone and make sure that that is matching again what how the customers are behaving. And most importantly, looking at the plan and pricing combinations and being able to come up with the bundles and predict, who are the customers that would be most sensitive to price, or perhaps predict who are the ones that are going to represent the greatest lifetime value. But it's not just technology. Technology is obviously key, but it's not just technology that's needed to make this shift and to take advantage and seize this moment. We believe that there's really 5 strategic moves that enterprises can make, companies can make to win in this AI moment. The first, not surprisingly, is to shift from a cloud AI dependent enterprise architecture and deploy edge AI and start to use this and start to test this capability. The second is to redefine how you think about your first party data strategy. It's not just about the customer profile, a static customer profile. It's really about incorporating real-time contextual insights as well and bringing that all together. Third is you want to build a customer-first AI strategy that is rooted in transparency and trust. Your customers will actually give you data, will give you their data if they trust you, if they understand how it's being used. And we've seen this. We've seen opt-in rates skyrocket when clients engage their customers and are very transparent in sharing with them how their data is used. Of course, it's important to identify what are those high-value, high-impact use cases where hyper-personalization can drive growth. We've touched on a few in the presentation. You saw some examples around real-time engagement. Churn prediction is obviously a big factor and a huge opportunity. So it's really important in your business to think about where are those levers and what are the use cases and what are the KPIs that you want to measure that are going to have the biggest impact. And finally, and this is very important, I think it's very important that companies rethink the value exchange. Because personalization works best when customers have a choice. So it shouldn't really matter. Customers still want to get value regardless of whether they choose to share a little bit of data or a lot of data with you. Now, obviously, you want to create the incentives and provide the value exchange and show them that the more data they do share and they provide, the better experience, the more personalized, the more relevant their experience and their relationship with you will be. And in fact, we've seen that customers are actually happy for their brands to monetize their data if the value exchange is there, if the value exchange holds up. So let's go back to 2007 again. Raise of hands. How many people in here remember what the #1 song was in 2007? No one's going for their phones? No one's trying to? No. All right. Still a little bit hungover from St. Patrick's Day, I guess. Well, it's on the slide, actually. It's Beyonce's Irreplaceable. And that is exactly what you want your customers to think about your brand when you deliver hyper-personalization. And so the question really is, about the battle for control of this AI, of the data and the signals that will power this AI-driven customer personalization. The question is really, do you want to own it, or do you want to let companies, big tech companies like Google and Apple own it for you? And I think the businesses that will act now will be irreplaceable and will define the future.